varies just because I'm a part-time worker, so sometimes it's 10 hours, sometimes 15 hours, and if it's busy, maybe 20 hours. Depends.
I would almost always try to work 35, almost till as much to get me. It also depends too. Like if I had school going on, I would average probably 20, 25 hours. So I mean, I did that most of my life. Yeah, I would do 20, 25 hours almost every week.
Per job, it would vary. For servers, they really don't want you to work more than 40 hours because then they have to give you overtime pay, which that extra $1.06 an hour is really going to break the back of restaurants. But they kept you part-time, and that's one of the reasons why I would work two part-time jobs, is because I could double up on the hours. And so for a while I was going to school and working up to 80 hours a week. But most jobs it was between 30 to 45 hours a week per job.
But when I was a manager, I was working probably a minimum of 65 hours a week. And then my maximum amount of hours that I pulled in the week was right around 90 for a week.
90 in 1 week?
Yes.
Wow.
A lot of overtime.
That doesn't seem like that would be legal, but
No, it's not, but you gotta get the job done, so.
So there's two different kinds of shifts. You got the regular shifts where it's like you're for sure working, and then you have a call-in shift, which is you have to call an hour prior to the time you're supposed to work, whether they're going to use you or not, and it's kind of hard to just pretty much make plans, or you never know if you're going to work or not.
My serving availability was one with a lot more people in it, or a lot more employees, so you're a little bit more flexible with requests off, things like that. Being a manager, you're pretty much expected to be there every single day. You were expected to be there every single day. You weren't expected to leave early, come in late. You were expected to just do what needed to be done, and it wasn't like a you need to be here kind of thing. It was just more of a expectation that was unspoken. Or if you were to take like a day off, you'd get questioned by it next day, or from upper management as to why you weren't there on a certain day. So it wasn't really a rule, but it was just kind of an understanding between all that you pretty much needed to be there every day.
It depended on the time of the year, but we were required to have pretty much open availability, and you had to give 2 weeks in advance if you wanted days off. There was always a little bit of trading shifts going on, especially if you were a hard worker and the manager appreciated what you did. They were willing to work with you because, people are people, they're going to help each other out. But pretty much any big venue or anything they ever would want to go to, either concerts or anything going on in your hometown, anything like that, you're never going to get to go to that until you're out of the service industry, because those are the busiest times for your business. And like perfect example, ACL. I've never been to an ACL, and I've lived in Austin for 18 years. So it's just kind of one of those things. It's just kind of sad.
14 hours, and it was on Black Friday.
Longest shift was 14 hours during the holiday season. I was there from open to close for the store. There an hour before the store opened, an hour after it ended.
Technically, it was two different jobs, but it was at Pluckers, and they have grueling long shifts, and not only that, they have these extraneous cleanup situations with that too. Sometimes it'll take you at least an hour just to clean up. I was there 14 hours, and then I went to my nighttime job at the club, and I worked there till 3 o'clock in the morning, and then it opened again at Pluckers. And so in 2 days I worked almost 30 hours, and I was miserable. I never usually ask off early, because at the night shifts when you make a lot of money, when you're the last person, because that's all the tables are yours. You don't get to fight. But that day I definitely asked to get off early. My feet were hurting. Felt like I played soccer all day. It was rough. I was not having fun.
Well, longest shift I ever worked was about 22 hours, and it was when I was working in the hotel, and it was either, I forgot what weekend it was, but it was a high volume weekend, and so I showed up for work at 6:30 for our normal morning shift, and then by the time it was lunch, we had one or two people call in, and either they were sick or making up the fact that they were sick because they didn't want to come in, and ended up working the afternoon shift as well. And instead of getting off at 11 o'clock, because we had a reduced workforce at that time, they said, hey guys, we just need you to work until the work's done, and going home at 4 o'clock in the morning. After getting there at 6:30 in the morning, needless to say, they were like, yeah, you just don't even need to come in tomorrow. So working 22 hours straight. That 22-hour break was mostly just them saying, here, chug this monster, sit over here on the side for a minute or two, and we're actually getting sponsored by all the major energy drink companies because they wanted their vehicles parked up front. So pretty sure that day I ingested about 5 times the normal amount of caffeine for a normal person. But there weren't really any breaks. It was like, hey, we got everyone's sandwiches, eat it, and then get back to work. So
I did get a break. It was an hour break, and it was the beginning of my shift. So I worked for about 2 hours, and then I went on break for that 1 hour, and then I just worked the rest.
During that 14 hours, did not receive a break. As the manager, I was more worried about other people receiving their breaks than my own. There wasn't really, in that position necessarily, there's not exactly someone who can give you a break because you are kind of the singular person in that department or that area. So there wasn't really a person that you can pass the buck off to, especially when I was there. I didn't necessarily have an assistant manager or someone directly underneath me. So all those job duties pretty much fell onto me. So didn't receive a break, was more, just the time of year, things like that. But, at the same time, I really wasn't able to take a break with all the things that were going on, which is unfortunate. Breaks in general, back when I wasn't a manager, there were times where it would get busy and you wouldn't get a break, which is against the law. And unfortunately being younger when that happens, a lot of the time you don't know your rights or what you're supposed to be given. I understand, all people should really understand that, if it's really busy, you have to get a certain job done. But at the same time, it's the job of your supervisor, your person above you, to make sure that you are getting what you are supposed to be given. So, your breaks, your mandatory breaks when you work a certain amount of time. But in general, being in that industry, breaks were not a thing that were continuously given or given at any kind of regularity.